I know for a fact, I have this idea, and if I don't try, I'm gonna regret having never tried. And I know also, if I try and fail, I'll never regret having tried and failed.
The people who really excel combine gifts and hard work. And the hard work part is a choice. You get to decide that.
If you can get your work life to be where you enjoy half of it, that is that is amazing, because very few people ever achieve that. Because the truth is, everything comes with overhead.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch the Top 10 with the Lead Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to think ahead, make great choices, and manage your time better with Jeff Bezos and my take on his top 10 rules of success to give you the confidence, motivation, and belief that you need. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Think ahead.
I always tell people, sometimes I get, we'll have a good quarterly conference call or something, and Wall Street will like our quarterly results, and people will stop me and say, congratulations on your quarter, and I say, thank you. But what I'm really thinking is, that quarter was baked 3 years ago. Right now, I'm working on a quarter that's gonna reveal itself in 2021 sometime. And that's what you need to be doing. You need to be out sort of, 2 or 3 years in advance. And and then why do I need to make 100 decisions today? If I make like 3 good decisions a day, that's enough. And they should just be as high quality as I can make them.
Rule number 2, make great choices.
Take pride in your choices, not your gifts. This is something that I think is super important for young people to understand, and for parents to preach to young people. It's really easy for a talented young person to take pride in their gifts. They can say, I'm really athletic, or I'm really smart, or I'm really good at math. And that's fine. You should celebrate your gifts. You should be happy, but you can't be proud of them, because they're gifts after all. They were given to you. What you can be proud of is your choices. How did you decide to use your gifts? Did you study hard? Did you work hard? Did you practice? The people who really excel combine gifts and hard work. And the hard work part is a choice. You get to decide that. And that is something, when you're looking back on your life, you'll be very proud of.
Rule number 3, manage your time better.
There are a lot of things that are a waste of time. When you think about your life, I often tell people that I work with, if you can because people have very high standards for how they want their work life to be. And I said, look, if you can get your work life to be where you enjoy half of it, that is amazing. Because very few people ever achieve that. Because the truth is, everything comes with overhead. That's reality. Everything comes with pieces that you don't like. You could be a Supreme Court justice, and there's still going to be pieces of your job you don't like. You can be a university professor, and it's still going to be, you have to go to committee meetings, and you have to do things. Every job comes with pieces you don't like. And we need to say, that's part of it. And not resent those pieces, or try not to. But also try to minimize them. I tell senior executives, you should have the least stress. There's this weird, I think, false idea that CEOs, I'm a CEO, there's this false idea that CEOs are under the most stress. Well, I look at that, I'm like, why? You're in charge. Why don't you delegate the stress? It's your choice. And so you have to figure out how to set up your life in such a way that you can minimize the things. And I find people don't dislike hard work. What people dislike is being out of control. Like they can't control their life. They can't control their environment. This happens to me when I get overscheduled. I hate being overscheduled. I want some time to be able to think and free myself. We all have the same amount of time in the world. Nobody has more time than anybody else. And when you become a very successful person, one of the things, you start to get overscheduled. You have this event, you had to agree to do this, and maybe last night you were like, why did I agree to do this? I have to go on stage tomorrow. I wish I were really with my family. And, you know, or I hope maybe not this case, let's say that you like this one, but in general, that kind of thing happens. And so you have to guard your time and try to stay a little bit flexible. So that's, for me, it's not a waste of time, but I like to have some freedom of movement rather than having every minute of every day scheduled.
Rule number 4, focus on your customer.
When you buy over the internet, Amazon, do you ever get the wrong order? Is anything ever wrong? What do you do? Do you call up and complain, or you don't have any problems?
No, I'm a customer of Amazon, hopefully like all of you in this room.
Is there one person full-time who services your account?
If there's anyone in this room who's not an Amazon customer, see me right afterwards and I'll walk you through it. It's, I have problems sometimes, and I treat them like the same way I treat a problem that I would get from a customer. My email address is famous, and I keep it, and I read it. It's jeff@amazon.com. I don't see every email that I get anymore because I get too many, but I see a lot of them. And I use my curiosity to pick out certain emails. So I'll get one from a customer, and there's a defect. You know, we've done something wrong. Usually people are writing us, not always, but usually they're writing us because we've screwed up their order somehow. And so I'm looking at this, and for some reason, something seems a little odd about that one. And so I'll ask the team to do a case study and find real root cause, or causes, it's usually causes, real root causes, and then real root fixes. So that when you fix it, you're not fixing it for that one customer, you're fixing it for every customer. And that process is a gigantic part of what we do. So I would treat if I have a failed order or some bad customer experience, I would treat it just like that.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
If everything has to work in 2 to 3 years, then that limits what you can do. The stress primarily comes from not taking action. If you absolutely can't tolerate critics, then don't do anything new or interesting.
Rule number 5, have a dream.
When I started Amazon, it was 25 years ago. I started Amazon in 1994. When I went to seek investors, the first question I had to answer is, what is the internet? None of my investors had ever heard of the internet. And the idea that I had in mind was to build a bookstore. I realized that we could build a store which would have every book ever printed in any language, in print or out of print. And we could do that online. It would be impossible in a physical store. And that was the founding idea of Amazon. But did I expect what would happen today? No. You know, we started, I've been at Amazon when it was one person, me, when it was 10 people, when it was 100 people, when it was 1,000 people. And today, when it's more than 700,000 people and approaching 70,000 people just here in India. So no, I did not predict that. And actually, I think if anybody had predicted that, they would have needed to be immediately institutionalized in a mental facility because it's not a normal thing to have happen. My dream when I started Amazon was that one day we might be able to afford a forklift. So it's been a very fun journey for me. And by the way, I still tap dance into work. I'm having so much fun.
Rule number 6, be right a lot.
Amazon has 14 leadership principles, and this is the one that often catches people a little by surprise, because one of our leadership principles is that good leaders are right a lot. And it sounds kind of like, well, great, but is there some way that I can practice being right a lot? And you're not going to be right all the time, but I do think with practice, you can be right more often. And I've observed people who are right a lot, and I notice a few things about them. The first is that people who are right a lot, they listen a lot. And people who are right a lot change their mind a lot. And people who are right a lot, they seek to disconfirm their most profoundly held convictions, which is very unnatural for humans. So humans mostly, as we go about life, we're very selective in the evidence that we let seep into us. And we like to observe the evidence that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. And people who are right a lot work very hard to do that unnatural thing of trying to disconfirm their beliefs.
Rule number 7, have no regrets.
I was living and working in New York City in 1994. I came across the fact that the World Wide Web was growing very quickly. It was tiny, but it was growing very fast. Most people had not heard of it. And I came up with this idea. The idea initially was very simple. It was to sell books online. And I went to my boss, who I liked a lot. His name was David. And I said, I have this idea to start this company to sell books on the internet. And he took me on a long walk in Central Park in New York and listened to this idea in great detail. And he said, it actually sounds like a really good idea to me, but I think it would be a better idea for somebody who didn't already have a good job. And I thought about that. That made a certain amount of sense to me. And he said, why don't you think about it for 2 days before you make a final decision? And so I went away and I thought about this. And I was trying to figure out how to make this decision, because in the moment, personal life decisions, those choices can be very challenging. And I finally figured out for me the right way to think about it, which was I wanted not to have regrets. I pictured myself 80 years old, and thinking back on my life in a quiet moment of reflection, would I regret leaving this company in the middle of the year and walking away from my annual bonus and all of those things that in the moment can be very confusing? And I thought, when I'm 80, I'm not going to think about that. I'm not even going to remember it. But what I will do, I know for a fact, I have this idea. And if I don't try, I'm going to regret having never tried. And I know also, if I try and fail, I'll never regret having tried and failed. And as soon as I thought about it that way, I knew I had to give it a try.
Rule number 8, be different.
We're very interested in physical stores, and I've been asked for years, we ever open physical stores? Literally 20 years I've been asked the question, and I always say yes, but only when we have a differentiated offering, something that's not me too. Because that space, physical stores, is so well served. If we offer a Me Too product offering, it's not going to work. And it's also we're not very good at that. Whenever we've tried dabbling in something that's a Me Too service, we tend to get beaten. It doesn't work. Our culture is much better at pioneering and inventing, and so we have to have something that's different. And that's what Amazon Go is. It's completely different. The Amazon bookstore, completely different. And we have ideas about how to merge Prime and Whole Foods to make that. Those are still rolling out. You haven't seen them yet. But to use Amazon Prime to make Whole Foods a very differentiated experience. And so what we're going to be able to do is take some of our resources, some of our technological know-how, and expand the Whole Foods mission. They have a great mission, which is to bring nourishing food to everybody, organic, nourishing food to everybody. But we have a lot to bring to that table in terms of resources, but also in terms of operational excellence and in terms of technology know-how.
Rule number 9, be good at storytelling.
I think this is a golden age of television. So when you look at, TV series today, the really good TV series are, in terms of quality, they're as good as the very best movies have ever been. And you're getting the best storytellers to come do television. You're getting the best actors to now come do television. One of the great storytellers is right here. Thank you for the help.
Thank you.
And this is a big deal when you can get the very best people, because this is one of those businesses where the viewer is always looking for something a little fresh. And so you can never find a formula, because as soon as you find a formula, It's not fresh anymore. They're always looking for something a little new. So it really takes human ingenuity. It takes people. The storytellers have to be in touch with the zeitgeist. And what I want Amazon Studios to be all over the world, I want us to be known as the most talent-friendly studio in the world. And the reason you need to do that, thank you, is because at the end of the day, it is the talent that makes those stories. Storytelling is the oldest thing that humans do. We've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, long before there was written language, before there was any medium to convey it. People sat around and they told each other stories. And it's how we teach each other things. And we learn from stories. We learn from fiction. We learn from fiction because we get to live an alternate life. In that moment, you watch this and you're learning it. So it can be fun, it can be action, it can be funny, it can be comedy, but the very best things take those elements and teach a little something. There's something in there that you walk away with and you're inspired by it. And it doesn't matter if it's drama, comedy, anything, you're gonna walk away with something. And there needs to be lightness. You know, you can't watch something that's just all heavy and you're like, oh my God, you know, I want to kill myself now. There also has to be that gesture. There has to be somebody who brings you out and lets you breathe a little bit. So this is so hard to do. That's why there is so many bad movies and so many bad TV shows, because it is one of the hardest things that humans do, is tell riveting, engaging, inspiring stories. But when you get it right, it's a lever that can change the world.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is have fun.
I've been following this Ice Bucket Challenge, and I find it totally amazing. It's really for a great cause, ALS, otherwise known as Lou Gehrig's disease. I read that that this challenge has now raised over $4.4 million. And the creators of it are really ingenious and they deserve a lot of credit. So anyway, I decided, yeah, of course I'm gonna accept Satya's challenge. But then the question is, who am I gonna challenge? It's a very important question and not one to be taken lightly. So I started asking friends, colleagues, anybody I ran into for suggestions yesterday. And I started to get a lot of really good suggestions. In fact, one of the first suggestions I thought, okay, we are done. This is it. It does not get better than this. Go ahead, put it up there. Obviously, Edward Snowden. It's so obvious. But then I started thinking, but wait, you know, if he takes the Ice Bucket Challenge, it'll just leak. So we had to keep thinking. We went back to the drawing board, and I was talking to people, and they said, you know, anybody, you got to think bigger. Got to think bigger, Jeff. And I said, all right, well, what do you have in mind? And they suggested what also, I think, in retrospect, kind of obvious: the Queen and the Pope. So I got pretty excited about that. And but then I thought, you know, this will never work. These people wear hats. So I had to give up on that idea as much as I loved it. And we kept brainstorming. And then finally somebody suggested what I thought would be a surefire winner. Go ahead, bring him up on the screen. Kim Jong-un. I mean, really, that would be incredible. It combines everything one might hope for in somebody to challenge for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And so I was very excited about this, but then unfortunately somebody pointed out it would actually be very difficult to even get the message to him because he's just not big on Twitter or Facebook. He's just doesn't really like it. So anyway, at the end of the day, I decided I would just go super personal, go way back into the past to some true childhood heroes in a real passion of mine space. And I am going to challenge, go ahead, William Shatner and Patrick Stewart and George Takei. Guys, you have 24 hours to accept the Ice Bucket Challenge. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Jeff on how to change your mind a lot that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point lending questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. How can you have more fun in your business today? Number 2, where do you need to manage your time better? And number 3, what choice, if you don't make today, you will regret in the future? And if you made it this far in a video and you are committed to making a change, I wanna celebrate you. Give me a hashtag believe down in the comments as well.
Changing your mind a lot is so important. You should never let anybody trap you with anything you've said in the past, because that is just a, life is complicated, the world is complicated, and sometimes you get new data. And when you get new data, you should change your mind. By the way, sometimes you don't get new data and you just reanalyze the situation and you realize it's more complicated than you initially thought it was, and you change your mind. This is something, it's frustrating to watch, and I will not get into politics here tonight, but it's frustrating to watch politicians because they're almost not allowed to change their mind. As soon as they change their mind, they get accused of being flip-floppers, when reality is anybody who doesn't change their mind a lot is dramatically underestimating the complexity of the world that we live in.
If you want 10 more rules from Jeff Bezos, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
We don't have enough time for me to list all of our failed experiments, but the big winners pay for thousands of failed experiments. If you're gonna do anything new or innovative,